Hi, welcome to the Warrior Moms podcast. My name is Trina Rothman. I'm going to be your host for the evening. I have with me Jeanna Finch, and she is going to tell us her Warrior Mom story, as well as how she is like an entrepreneur and like not just a warrior mom, she's an entrepreneur. She's doing all kinds of great things. She's helping people. She's making change. She's helping people change their lives. And so I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. I do want to cover something. We've got a little bit of a housekeeping that we have to do. A couple weeks ago, we did we did the hashtag Tanya Moon giveaway. The winner is going to be Keely Jones, which I announced earlier today on Facebook. And I did send Tanya a message, and so she will be able to reach out to Keely and get him or her, because I'm not sure. I've never met somebody with the name Keely before. I'm sorry. Get you your cup, your water jug. So that being said, we also, a couple of weeks ago, we introduced the idea of Warrior Mom swag. We actually got the proofs today, and we'll be posting that to our community. So if you are interested in joining the Warrior Moms Facebook community, I have on this ticker on the bottom, I have that going for the web address, and we'll go ahead and add you after the show. Once again, this is an interactive show. If you have questions, please go ahead and put them in the comments, and Jeanna and I will try to answer them for you as we can. So all that, I'm done talking. Jeanna, tell us about you.
Hi. I live in Denver, Colorado, and we have my special needs daughter, Alex. She's 4, almost 4.5, and we also have a son who is 2 years older than her, Connor, and then my husband, Steve. And I have a stepson who I kind of feel like is mine. He's a grown man, though. He's 27. His name's Tyler. And we love living in Denver. We both are military brats that grew up in Europe a little bit, but I mostly grew up in North Carolina. So if you ever hear a little bit of a Southern twang come out of me, it's in there. It depends on what I'm talking about. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit more later about what I've got going on in my my entrepreneurial world. But just things are good right now. We've got a lot of good things going on, and getting nervous about school starting again and traversing that in an online world. But that's kind of the gist of the basics of me.
Got it. So is Denver doing online school only, or how's that working out there? Just curious.
It's going to be online only through first quarter, so through October 16th. And basically you have to opt in if you're going to stay online through the rest of the semester or want to go in person. We've chosen at this point to stay online through the semester, and part of that is, I think, the need to protect Alex a little bit. And just worried about bringing something like that home. So these are crazy times we're living in.
No, absolutely. We have my daughter's school district has the option, and I think it's the only school district in the Houston area that is allowing face-to-face options. But we actually got the statistics back the other day. 47% opted to do face-to-face, and the other 53% opted to do at-home learning. And we fell in line with at-home learning because, again, like you said, to protect Alex, to protect Scarlett, as well as I didn't want to be the reason why a teacher was forced into the classroom.
Yeah.
So that was something that I really thought long and hard on. So these teachers I know have, school starts for us in a couple of weeks, and these teachers have a huge burden on their shoulders, and I feel so terrible for that. But getting to you, your daughter Alex, how has your warrior mom story unfolded? So can you tell us a little bit the history of Alex and all that?
Well, you never know you're going to be a warrior mom. None of us did. I had a very complicated pregnancy, but we thought she was a typical healthy kid when she came out, but her head started growing really quickly, and we started to realize that something was wrong. And she does have hydrocephalus, and so she had a shunt put into her brain when she was 11 weeks old. And we already knew that there were going to be severe delays. You have a head that's too big. Her head grew 6 inches in the first couple months of life. Oh. So she has the head of an average teenage girl on, at that time, a baby's body. And so it delays everything. And I even then, I don't think I entirely believed how heavy. They said she probably wouldn't walk until she was 4 or 5. And sure enough, here we are. She's 4.5. She doesn't walk. There were a lot of things I doubted. But there we were, all of a sudden we were in that world. And we had about a year and a half of just dealing with I say just, that's a big just, but we were just dealing with the hydrocephalus at that point. And that I felt like we kind of got to a place of understanding a new normal, and we found early intervention services. And, but then when she was 22 months old, she had her first seizure, and it lasted an hour. And it wasn't I've seen many grand mal seizures, but her seizures, and that's what everyone thinks of as a seizure is, they're unconscious, their eyes roll in the back of their head. It's a full tonic-clonic. Hers was like electricity was jolting through her body every few seconds. And she was completely conscious. She was actually laughing between some of them, because I think she was kind of like, oh my God, what's going on? My whole body is like jolting and shaking. And, but we just we knew it had to be something with seizures. And it was difficult getting her diagnosed because she didn't present with some of the typical stuff. And, but she did in fact get diagnosed with infantile spasms. And of course, like all moms here, I immediately started reading and terrified myself and around me. And I always say, and no matter how many times you say that to a new warrior mom, you're going to read, because you want to know. Like I needed to know. I needed the knowledge. It was where I threw my energy. But the knowledge sometimes doesn't serve you, because it just scares the crap out of you. And the fact is, there's always going to be a worst case scenario of everything. And in her case, the worst case scenarios with IS it's pretty scary. And then she also we finally got genetic testing done and found out she has PCDH19, which is a rare genetic mutation, which also can have some severe behavioral effects down the road. And but we don't think that's quite how her seizures were manifesting. We still think it had been the IS primarily. And then she also got Lennox-Gastaut syndrome thrown in there. All rare. Rare is kind of the key word with her. Is she's an interesting combination of a lot. I actually asked her neuro once. I said, do you have other children you can kind of compare her to here that you treat? And she's like, no, not one. She's like, your daughter is this like really unique assortment of issues. And so she's got a lot going on neurologically. And so, yeah, the warrior mom part of it, it's funny. And I bet all warrior moms would say this, but everyone around you constantly tells you, oh my God, how do you do this? Oh my God, there's no way. You have no choice. Of course you do it. And I say that to everyone. We are all capable of this journey, because we love our children, and you can either feel defeated and terrified and live in that place. And we all have to go through that place. But I dragged and clawed and scratched my way out of that place, because it wasn't serving her, definitely wasn't serving me. And so it's been a crazy ride the last 4.5 years. But here we are, and she's, we were actually just talking about, she's been seizure free for 4 weeks, which I hate to say out loud, because I don't want the universe to smite me. But the fact is that 4 weeks for her is huge. She's never, ever gone more than maybe a few days. And so, and that's she's on keto, which she's been on for a couple of years. She is on a couple of meds. She takes CBD oil. She has lots of therapies. It's not by accident we got here, but it's been a lot of work.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. Well, first of all, 4 weeks of seizure freedom. I know that every parent that's watching this, every warrior mom is like, yeah, because 4 weeks is 4 weeks. And that's amazing, because if you can I understand. And my daughter has her seizure freedom as well. And every time I try, I told myself I want to celebrate all the milestones, but I also don't want to put the juju on it. I really don't and so I tend to keep her seizure freedom quiet, because I just don't want to jinx it. So I totally get, but it's something to celebrate. 4 weeks is something to celebrate. And I love how you said about the reading, because that's actually something we have not talked about on the show. And you're right, because I will give you a perfect example. When we got the genetic testing back on my daughter, she had multiple genetic mutations, but one, they said, they thought, the neurologist, not the epileptologist, the neurologist thought that the mutation was the source of her seizures. And so me, like just new into the world of epilepsy, I went and Googled POLG1 mutations, and I broke my own heart. Like it was the worst thing that I could have ever done to myself. It was torture. I had to call my boss crying hysterical in the parking lot, and he was just like, you have to go home. He's like, you can't. He's like, you just go home, take a personal day, just finish the day at home, don't answer your phone. Because I was a mess. Because again, it's when you're seeing these studies, a lot of times it is the worst case scenario. It is the scenario in which defined the mutation. And even my daughter, she has a single deletion as opposed to a double deletion. And the study was over a double deletion. And I'm new to it. I don't know. And so you're absolutely right. Sometimes it can do more harm than good. And so I really appreciate you bringing up that point, because it really is a good point to discuss. So your daughter has seizure freedom right now, which is amazing, but you said it was a long road to get there. So how have you had to advocate for your child?
Oh, God, from the very beginning, even with the hydrocephalus, everyone, when you're trying to schedule an appointment, I feel like everyone always thinks that your sense of urgency is just because you're the parent, not because there's really a sense of urgency. And her pediatrician, who is no longer her pediatrician, didn't even think anything was wrong. Like you could look at her and see that something was wrong, and he thought nothing was wrong. And then he looked at her head measurement and said, well, that has to be wrong. And I said, oh no, that's right. And that was when he was like, oh, wait a minute. And so he referred us to a pediatric neurologist. And when we called, they said it was going to be 6 weeks. This child's head had grown 6 inches. At that point, we weren't even at surgery point yet. So it was 9 weeks. Her head had grown 6 inches. And they wanted us to wait 6 more weeks to see a pediatric neurologist. And so I still remember the woman's name. Her name was Carol. Oh, I hope Carol doesn't hate me. But I said, Carol, are you a mom? And she's like, yeah. And I said, then you won't be offended when I tell you that's a complete crock of. And I said, because I'm coming tomorrow. I'm going to walk in the door. I'm going to knock on every single door in that doctor's office until that doctor comes out and sees my daughter. What time do you open? And she was like, okay, we open at 9. And I was like, done. And I was there. I mean, and he didn't even examine her. He walked in the room, looked at her for 2 seconds, and ordered an emergency MRI at Children's Hospital in Denver. And in that moment, I just started crying. And he's like, don't cry. And I said, I'm crying because I'm not crazy. Like you're seeing her, and I'm glad that I fought to get her here today, and the fight continued every step. It really is amazing. And it's sad too, because the hospital is that busy, a children's hospital is that busy that it's hard for them to squeeze in something that's emergent. But, we moved pretty quickly. We had the MRI. They referred us to a neurosurgeon. I had pretty much the same conversation with his scheduler, who told me he wasn't going to be available for a few weeks. And I also told her I was coming, regardless of whether I had an appointment. And she was great. She ended up kind of finagling this appointment that didn't really exist on his calendar and got us in. And same thing, he met us and had cleared his calendar the following day to immediately put the shunt into her brain. And so every step, I was thanking God that I am such a pain in the ass, because I don't know if I can say that.
You can say ass.
Okay,
you
good.
can say all the ass words you want.
Okay, good. Because I was a mama bear times 10, and I was glad that I was, because imagine if we had waited all that time. I think of everything she's dealt with as the aftermath. Is the aftermath of that. Thank God we pushed, and then when it came to epilepsy, same thing, it was a lot of pushing and mom tuition, as we were talking about.
Oh, we've got it. We've got the mom tuition. Let's.
I'm gonna say, moms, you listen to your gut, and I don't care what a doctor says to you. No one knows your child like you. No one knows when something's off the way a mother does. There's just this instinct you have. And when the whole seizure thing started, and they didn't even think it was seizures in the ER, they're not neurologists, and they don't get to decide whether or not my daughter's having seizures. I had to fight tooth and nail again to get an appointment and to get an EEG done. And I mean, I've heard of moms who literally refuse to leave the emergency room until they hook their children up to an EEG, just flat out were like, you're going to have to drag my dead, lifeless body out of this ER.
Yep. Esperanza, a previous guest, she did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to, you have to be their voice because they don't have one, that you are that voice. And I have fought every step of the way. I am actively involved in her course of treatment, what drugs we will and won't try, everything. And we have a neurologist who luckily hears me, and she knows that I'm a well-educated, intelligent woman, and no one's going to tell me anything about my child that I'm not actively involved in that decision. So you have to educate yourself. And that's where like the reading, you need to read, but you need not to go so deep into the reading that you completely freak yourself out. But you do need to educate yourself about your child's condition so you can be an advocate and have a voice. Because if you put your head in the sand, you can't advocate for your child.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that. And that's something that I try to tell everybody when I meet a new mom or a new parent, somebody who's new into the epilepsy world. I try to tell them, hey, like there's going to be these pitfalls of epilepsy. There's going to be these big, giant pits that if you fall into them, it's going to suck. And I mean, it's going to be so hard to get yourself out of that. And I was like, but I will teach you. I will tell you. I'm not teaching you, but I will tell you what I went through so you don't have to fall through that same thing and you don't have to break your own heart. Because I'm telling you, when I read that thing about the Pulgi one, I was done. I was not functional. And people, I think maybe if they don't know me, but they know me through the show, I think they can tell that I'm a pretty strong person. And that broke me. Like that was the end. And that was a lesson that I had to learn. So that way I could, in the future, just be like, okay, look, I need to wait for the doctor on this one because this is diving down the wrong rabbit hole and it's not going to serve me and it's not going to serve my daughter. And I'm not a geneticist,
Well, this whole journey will push you in ways that, I mean, I can remember moments of thinking I couldn't feel any more hopeless. I mean, it was, yeah, I can remember many nights I just sat on my couch when everybody went to bed and just cried and just got it all out. And I feel like I can't do it in front of everybody else. And I don't want my son, to see it. But yeah, this journey will push you to the edge. It's not easy. And we're only 4.5 years to this journey. I mean, I don't even know what lies ahead of us, but I think we can handle it. I mean, now I can say that I truly feel we can handle it because of everything that we've been through.
No, I agree with that. I think you have a good outlook on it. And, that's the best way to be, because if you, like you said, if you sit and you wallow in it, you're not serving yourself, you're not serving your daughter, you're not getting anywhere. And like I tell everyone else, and you already tapped onto it as well in the conversation, is that, how do you do it? I do it because I have to. And I think that if anybody else was in this position, if they love their child and they, you're a mother, you fight for your child, you advocate for your child. And that's just what you do. You pick yourself up, you put your big girl panties on and you get your shit done. And so that's it. That's the end of it. It's not how do I do it? It's I do it because I have to, because it's my child and that's what I have to do. And so I love that you tapped on that. And then also, as far as like, when you were saying educating yourself, and I also want to say that it's really good to also track what you're noticing with your child, which I know you did. Yes. But like things like
a note. Oh my God. I have logs, seizure logs, all kinds of logs. Oh yeah.
Yes. So seizure logs, I encourage parents to record seizures from and it's not just like because like parents, if you're new to epilepsy right now, and your child is having a tonic-clonic, and you're just recording from the head up because their face is doing all kinds of twitchy things, you also need to get the rest of the body because the whole body is involved in the seizure. So you want to go ahead and record that. So that way when you go to your neurologist or your epileptologist and you have this video, because I will tell you, a video got me through the door with an epileptologist. And I was like, please, I have this video on my phone. Show it to the epileptologist. I know she's here. Oh. And so as soon as she saw that, epileptologist was like, put me in the room. What room are they in? They're room 15. Okay, I'm going into room 15. And like that was it. That's how, like, you have to trust your gut. You have to follow your mom tuition, because it is going to be your strongest indicator of what's going on with your child. It really is. You know your child. And we have Renee Gardner on the show tonight, watching on the show, and she's saying, you know, yes, we have to advocate for our kids. We know our kids better than anyone else, like I just said, and like you said yourself. I had to be a mama bear to school, first pediatric neurologist, and push for an epileptologist appointment. And you know, she even says something great: get letters from teachers. You know what the teachers are witnessing, because this is all going to help with that diagnosis. And like we said, and I wrote a blog about this, and in my blog, I said there's a lot of waiting. There is so much waiting. And if you can, like the genetic testing, how long did it take for you for genetic testing?
It's about 5 or 6 weeks.
Okay.
It felt like a long time.
Yeah. So we waited 12 weeks for genetic testing. Then we waited 3 months for the appointment. And now we're waiting for the appointment with the geneticist. Now we're waiting 3 years for the next round of genetic testing to be done. And if what I read on Poll G1 comes true, we don't know if we have 3 years. And so that's the thing. If you can record and you can get the letters from the teachers and you can take these seizure log notes like you do, you will have a faster chance. You will have a faster timeline than what we've had. And
it's partly how the IS diagnosis came into play for her, because our neurologist, what I was saying and what I had logged didn't match what the EEG tech was saying about the reading, her very first EEG. And she said, when the two things didn't match up, she was like, okay, there's something going on here. And she actually convened 7 pediatric neurologists. I forget what they call it, but it's where they basically come together to try to agree upon a diagnosis, because my daughter didn't follow the normal. She didn't have, it's called hypsarrhythmia, and she didn't have hypsarrhythmia, but you can still have IS without it. It's just not as common. Okay. And sure enough, the 7 doctors came together and the majority of them agreed. But because I had kept and I'd sent her videos, and it absolutely made a difference in her getting diagnosed properly. Big time.
Yes, absolutely. Now we have a question from Renee, and she says, why, I'm going to put it up on the screen. Why do you do genetic testing? We haven't done that. Do you want to answer that for us, Jeanna?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know if there's an underlying cause that could be causing the epilepsy. Like, there's so many cases where people have absolutely no idea why their child has epilepsy. So in our case, we kept not finding truly what the cause was. You might think it's because she has the shunt and all this other stuff with hydrocephalus, but that wasn't it. And so for us, it was understanding, is there a genetic cause? But also as a parent, knowing, if we had more children, is this something we need to know? Because if she tested positive for something that was connected to epilepsy, then we can get testing as parents to see if we carry that gene. And in her case, she was a de novo case. So meaning she was truly it was a mutation. It didn't come from either one of us. But understanding that is going to help you understand the course of how you treat the epilepsy and prepare yourself for what else could be coming.
Absolutely. And there's certain types of genetic epilepsy or epilepsy from genetic mutations that there's medication that you cannot give those children. There's sodium valproate is one of them. Some children cannot have the addition of the sodium valproate because their sodium channels are blocked. And so that way, if you were to you would basically be poisoning them with their medication. So there's a lot of different reasons why you would do genetic testing. And it's just a small, because she said, Jeanna just said that it took 5 to 6 weeks for her. And then for us, it took 12 weeks. It's just a small genetic panel. They only test for certain genes that are related to epilepsy. If those genes come back and there's not definitive answers, like for my daughter's situation, there was a lot of mutations that were of unknown significance. So that's why we have to do more genetic testing. We're going to do a full genomic panel, which is her entire genome, which is why it takes so long. But so we can see what else is my, plaguing my daughter. So you want to do that. So that way, again, so you don't If you have children in the future, you can be mindful of that. Or, as far as the treatment goes, you don't want to give them the wrong medication, which in my daughter's case, if we gave her sodium valproate, she would not react well because it does affect on the POLG1 mutation. How are you? Oh, so she has another question. How are you handling COVID precautions and starting school? So we covered that at the beginning of the show. We both decided to keep our children home. And I know a lot of special needs families are doing the same. All of our children are very high risk. And it's for us, it was risk and reward. There was no reward for risking our child. So we decided to just call my mom. And my mom is actually flying in from Atlanta, and she will live with us until our daughter goes back to school or until we feel it's safe. I know that Jeanna, she chose to keep her son home because she didn't want to risk her daughter being exposed. So it's really a very personal choice. You have to do what's best for your family, but that's what we both decided to do for ours. So, moving on, I want to get into what you are doing. Oh, another question. What do you wish people knew about Alex?
I wish they knew that it's okay to engage with her. Like, I feel like people are unsure of how to engage, and I think they don't always see her for who she really is because they get caught up in the fact that her developmental delays. They just see a child that can't walk and doesn't really talk. And so they just assume there's nothing going on cognitively, I feel like sometimes. But she's funny and she has a sense of humor and she loves to play and she welcomes interaction. There was a time when she was younger where it might have been harder for her with new people, but she's at a place where she loves engaging and she's just fun. She's a lot of fun. And I would tell anyone, like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to engage. I worry as our kids get older, when we're not always there to help mitigate that, and that's the way special needs adults are treated in this world, and the way they are seen or not seen is unacceptable. We have to fix that.
Absolutely, I agree. My husband and I have always talked about, for what would we do with Scarlett when she graduated high school and things like that. She can continue into the program till she's 21, or we could do something, with her. Or what can we do? And so we talk about transition a lot, especially when you get into high school, which is what my daughter is getting into. So the transition, the school wants to know how she's going to transition, and really they just want to know, are we going to keep paying for services? And so one of the things that my husband and I really, really have talked about a lot is just going in on a food truck. Like, just because my husband and we're both in the food industry or restaurant industry, and our daughter, this is her dream. She's actually brought it to us, like we've talked about it without her hearing about it, but then she's come up with the idea, like, hey, what if we get a food truck? Then I can work for you. Because I have seen special needs adults be mistreated by customers. I've seen special needs adults being mistreated by their employer, and they are happy to have a job. They're happy to be included because they're constantly excluded. And so one of the things that we talked about, if we do open the food truck, we want to employ special needs adults because we know that they're capable of more than what society has decided for them. And again, I run the blog on Socially Acceptable, and that's the kind of thing that I like to talk about when we only want to put people into a pretty little box. And if you can't fit in this pretty little box and you can't put this pretty little filter on your face, then you're not valuable to society. And that's not the case. And my daughter, she's not somebody who is just going to be ignored later in life. She has great goals in life. And I don't know if you know this, but my daughter goes to the gym every single day and works out for an hour and a half. And she's got like little weights on her chest and she's like doing sit-ups. Man, that kid could teach a yoga class if she wanted. So why would I try to get her, just a little room at some community and just, put her out to pasture? That's not what we need to do with our special needs adults. We need to include them.
They're capable of a lot. There's a couple of places here in Colorado. There's a pizza place here that everyone that is employed there is special needs. There's also this really great man here. He used to be connected to something in the Hollywood area, but he employs special needs young adults and into adulthood to teach them practical skills like trades, like welding, fixing cars, all kinds of stuff. It's a really amazing program, and I have a friend who has a son who's autistic who has taken part in the program, and it's amazing. Like, we need more people doing that. It's
Absolutely.
They're capable. It's just like any of us. If no one ever believes we're capable of anything, it starts to become this self-fulfilling prophecy, versus if people expect more of us, they can get more from us. It's the same with that's human nature. People can rise to the occasion regardless of the circumstance, I think.
Absolutely. And I believe we rise by lifting others. And so even if somebody needs a little extra push, you can be that person. It's not gonna put you out to help somebody else. And so speaking of helping somebody else, let's talk about what you do. So you're a warrior mom, but you're also an entrepreneur. So let's talk about what you're doing to make the world a better place.
Yay. Hoping to make the world a better place. Yes. It's an interesting journey that I've been on. I've always been drawn towards health and wellness and wanting to help others. And, when you and I had talked one time, we have similar backgrounds. I was in the restaurant business for many years as a general manager. I was in event planning for almost 12 years. But I always had this tug. And when everything started with my daughter, I knew I had to really figure out how to go in that avenue, because I needed to be able to have complete control over my schedule, my coming, my going, when she has hospital stays. I mean, there's, you need a lot of flexibility when you've got a special needs kiddo. And I mean, shoot, when you have kids, period, you need some flexibility, but just more so. And my husband is a clinical nutritionist and an obesity researcher, and he had already been on that path of doing his own thing, and I knew I wanted to be a bigger part of that. So when all of this started, I saw this as an opportunity. And when I say all of this, I mean, COVID and everything happening in the world. Obviously, events, hospitality, all of that ceased, stopped completely, and I don't know. I didn't have the same reaction as a lot of people. My thought was, okay, maybe in some really crazy way, this is an opportunity for me to take the dive into the deep end and really go full tilt in our business. We have a business called Lifestyle Evolution, and it is focused on weight loss, working with the obese, and it's very nutrition focused. We also incorporate some work with fitness and mindfulness and other aspects of wellness, but it's very heavily nutrition based in paleo. We also incorporate keto a little bit when we need to with certain clients. But then also I launched a blog with my sister. My twin sister she works in a 5-star French restaurant and also has a restaurant background and a culinary background. And so we started twinkitchens.com, and it's a passion that I can do with my twin, who is my, she's my soulmate. She's been my other half since the womb mates. We were womb mates in the beginning, and it's what we like to say. And what's nice is it gives me also an opportunity from the health perspective, because I have rheumatoid arthritis. I'm a firm believer it was triggered by all the stress of everything that was going on with our daughter. And it really was a gut check for me, for myself, that I had to remember that there's a me in all of this, that's not just the warrior mom and the wife and the everything else that we have to be as women. There's also just me, Jeanna, and it really forced me to revisit my own journey. And so on the Twin Kitchens blog, everything I blog is autoimmune protocol paleo food, which anyone who's watching that has an autoimmune disease that might follow AIP eating will know what I mean. It's removing all the inflammatory foods out of your diet. And so that piece came into play as well. And I'm also a certified yoga teacher and used to do yoga therapy, restorative yoga therapy work with clients as well. So health and wellness is a is a really big deal for me. But right now, it's interesting the way it's focusing, because I really, really want to be working with the special needs community. I really want to be working with people who are trying to traverse an autoimmune disease and how to change their lifestyle. So our business isn't just going to be weight loss, even though that might be a big focus. There's another piece of it now that I'm fully in it. I'm also working on my board certification towards my board certification for being a functional health coach. I took a lot on when all of this started. I just went all of it, everything I want to do. Check, 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 check.
Well, we must have been drinking from the same well, because I did the same damn thing, and I'm just like, wait, why did I do this to myself? So no, I totally get it. And I feel like I'm sorry, my sock popped off and it was bothering me. So I think that as a warrior mom, I'm always like ready to go. Like, I feel like I'm always at like a 9. And like when COVID hit and my husband lost his job and everybody was home around, and I was like, oh, I've got to figure out something to do or I'm going to murder my family. Like, I've got to have a hobby. I've got to have something to do. And I couldn't, and I was actually in a creative rut. Like, I'm a writer. I could not write to save my life, which is, I think, as a mindset coach, you probably know this. When times get tough, creativity is the first thing out the door, because your brain is in recovery mode. Your brain is just trying to survive. And so when COVID hit, I was like, no, I allowed myself to wallow a couple of weeks. And then I was like, you know what? I gotta buck up and I gotta do something. And that's how, and my friend gave me a huge tough love conversation where he was like, you've got a voice and you can do things and you're a strong person. And that's how Warrior Moms came about. So it was basically one of my friends just like telling me like the God's honest truth. And so I love that you're active. Because I'm an active person, and I just love being able to help people. And I can tell that you have the same type of passion that I do towards helping people, because I do, like I've told you 1,000 times, I do Warrior Moms out of the goodness of my heart. Like, I just do it because I want to help. I want people to understand that you don't have to go through any of this alone. You have a community. We're here. We're kind of busy on our own. And so like between all of us, we will all pitch in to do what we can. Like, if I can't help you, I'm going to punch you off to another mom. And I know that other mom is going to take care of you. And it's a club nobody wanted to join, but it's the best club, I think, to have, because I mean, there's no like commitment more than a warrior mom. Like, if you have a warrior mom in your back pocket, I think you've got a strong friend. And so I love that you want to help.
When you get us together. Yeah.
What?
We're unstoppable when you get us together. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And I put the link to your Twin Kitchens blog there. And then of course we'll put all the links to everything after the show. We'll do that. But I could remember to type Twin Kitchens. It was a pretty easy URL. So I could do that. So one of the things that I like to talk about is self-care, because again, it's stress, how you manage your stress. And we're all stressed. Everybody's stressed, whether you have a special needs child or you don't. It's COVID, it's 2020, it's the election. Everybody's stressed. Everybody's doing all these different things. And if you don't take care of yourself, you sign yourself up for the autoimmune club. And that's a club you don't want to be in. And so I have, I've told you, I have rheumatoid arthritis as well. I have a neuromuscular disease as well. And it's all brought on by stress and not taking care of myself. So these are all lessons that I've had to learn so other people don't have to learn them themselves. So what is it that you like to do for self-care?
A mindfulness practice, I think, is really important. For me, it's been really important. And it's not just meditation. Meditation's part of it. But it's also slowing down a little bit, being present, I think, is the biggest part of it. And to me, that means, especially being an entrepreneur with so much going on in my world right now, like being better about, if I'm taking time for me, then that's all I'm focusing on. There's no phone, there's no computer, there's no television. It's me doing what I need, which can be meditation. Yoga is another big self-care thing for me. And getting outside, getting outdoors, going for walks, which usually involves my daughter in a stroller, and we go, trekking all over the neighborhood together because she loves to be outdoors. But And also eating healthy, which I know it may not sound as exciting to some people, but I feel better when I eat well. And again, I follow AIP, so it's a very, it's a paleo template with quite a few things removed, but I feel better, literally, not just emotionally, but physically. It controls my symptoms, my RA symptoms. It's been incredible for me. So if I can be consistent about those things and manage the hectic, my color coded calendar, then I feel good. And then I feel like I'm wrapping my arms around my own self-care. So it is important. We can't serve the people we love if we're not serving ourselves first. I mean, honestly, serving ourselves is more important in some ways because we need to be sticking around for a long time, you know?
Absolutely. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And that's something that I remind myself, like, again, I'm not perfect. I'm a work in progress. And that's one of the things that I have to work on is taking time for myself. And if that means, passing it, the care of my daughter to my husband or even to my brother, I have to do that because otherwise I'm no good for anybody. And I just have to do that. It's just something like you just have to do it. And so Renee says, and she says, we have seizures under control with meds, but have side effects that is changing personality, temperament, and reluctant to ask for change in meds or look for an alternative medicine. It may be the wrong choice in prescription and controlling the seizures since they are controlling seizures. But that's something that I definitely think you need to talk to your doctor about. If you're seeing a change in temperament, you have to remember these medications change the chemistry of your child's brain. Like that's the long and short of it. You are taking brain chemistry altering drugs. And so if something is now being adjusted, then something over here might be need to be tweaked too. I know, like for Keppra, if your child is taking Keppra, that's actually a very common side effect of Keppra. I'm not a doctor, but it is a very common side effect of Keppra. And I know that a lot of people, you just call your doctor and say, hey, I'm having some issues, and you get was it vitamin B6?
A very high dose. My daughter's on Keppra, high dose B6.
Yeah. So it's and that should help with the temperament issues. But if not, that's something you have to, again, this is stuff you need to put in your logs too, because what if it's for my daughter? So she has something they're called neurofits, and they look like hissy fits, like straight up. It looks like a spoiled, rotten child having just a spoiled child having a total temper tantrum, and she's really like having like her brain is just overwhelming her, and she's like having it's like a meltdown because her brain is overstimulated, and it looks like a temper tantrum on the outside, but on the inside there's really some electricity going on in there. And so you have to document that, even if you don't think even if you like you notice that your child is off, but you're not quite sure if it's seizure or not, let the doctor decide if it's seizure or not. Just write it down. Be like, hey, he kept doing this to his face one day. Like, is that weird or what? Well, he could have just had an itch and he was trying not to scratch his skin, but let the doctor decide.
Well, alternate can play well with traditional medicine. I mean, we're an example of that. My daughter's on traditional meds, but she's also on a ketogenic diet and CBD oil, and all have benefited her in one way or another,
Yeah, absolutely. And my daughter is also on the keto diet. So we do a lot of different things. And I've told you this, I'm a huge believer in cannabis. I am, people most know me for my talk about for what I discuss with cannabis. So, and in fact, that's cannabis right there. So, I mean, I am definitely a huge supporter of what cannabis can do, especially for the epilepsy community, and even for autoimmune diseases. It really helps with the inflammation in the body. So there's lots of great things. And so you actually had something that you wanted to share with the audience. So I'll go ahead and.
The offer. Yeah. So I sat down with my husband and talked about. We're, I guess, typically considered a more premium service with what we do with Lifestyle Evolution, and but we really want to make ourselves accessible. And so we put together an offer for warrior moms for 3 months. Typically, we require a 6-month commitment, but again, we're trying to make it more accessible. So we're going to do a 3-month package at $75 a week. Typically, our prices are substantially more than that, but we, again, feel strongly we want this to be accessible. And that package can be used whether you're focusing on weight loss and wanting to work with a clinical nutritionist like my husband, or whether you're wanting to work with behavioral coaching to really help manage, whether it's managing your self-care, managing your autoimmune disease, wanting to really wrap your arms around your health and wellness. That's where the coaching side comes in, the behavioral coaching that I do. So it's $75 a week. We bill typically monthly. We're only asking a 3-month commitment, just because we feel like 3 months, you need some kind of commitment to really take it seriously. But we're not asking for the full 6 months. And if you want to stay with us longer than 3 months, we'd love that. Our consultations are free. So you're not losing anything by just saying, hey, can I set up a call and learn a little bit more about what you guys do and how you could help me? And you can decide whether or not you think we're a fit for what you're looking for. So please don't hesitate. I know you'll put it up, but our actual website is coloradoweightlossdoctor.com for Lifestyle Evolution. But my email, which I know you're going to share as well, is Jeanna@coloradoweightlossdoctor.com. And please reach out to me. I would love to work with some other amazing warrior moms.
Absolutely. I love that you have because I have seen your actual pricing. So I know that this is a deal. So I appreciate you for offering this to the community, because like you and I were discussing, when it comes to being a special needs mom or a special needs dad or special needs parent, you tend to not spend money on yourself. You want to hold on to every last dollar you have, because we all know when it rains, it pours. But I'm telling you, and you said it earlier, we need to take care of ourselves so we can stay around for a really long time. And I know that's another fear of a special needs parent, is what happens if I'm not around. And that's why we had the attorney on the show last week. And she also did reduced fees for everybody on for that watches my show. So I am really, really excited that you are offering this, because I want these warrior moms to be able to take care of themselves, because and I told you too, I used to be a legal analyst, and I noticed trends and I noticed things, and I've interviewed a lot of people for warrior moms, and it's amazing to me how frequently they bring up the fact that they have an autoimmune disease. And again, myself, I have an autoimmune disease. And so there is definitely something there. Like there's the stress that we're under, what we put our bodies through.
Lack of sleep is a huge trigger too.
Yes. I have been up since 3:49 this morning because I had a nightmare about my kid. And so I really hope that people take advantage of this, because it will be so good. And it's self-care. It is self-care.
Oh, we're fully virtual. I should say that too. Like we're fully virtual. We work with people all over the country. I always love telling people one of our most successful clients lives in Las Vegas. We've never met him, and he lost like 100 and almost 200 pounds. Wow. Working with us. We never met him in person. So it's completely virtual, and I wish it works. It's texting, phone calls, Zoom calls. We don't need to see you in person to be able to work with you, especially not in this day and age, right? We're all realizing we can do a lot virtually that we may not have thought we could. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So that's actually a really good point, because everyone is probably like, wow, does she have a following in Colorado? So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So yeah, no, that's great. And congratulations to that guy for losing almost 200 pounds. I mean, any weight loss is amazing, but 200 pounds, that's commitment right there. And that's
for 3 years so far.
Wow. That's a good testimony to like what you guys can do. So I really appreciate you making
testimonials on our website. If people look, his testimonials on there. He's a really great success story. We've never had a client that failed. We really, I think, set people up for success. The hope is that eventually you'll have all the tools in your toolbox that we've helped you pull together so that you can do it by yourself.
Absolutely. That's so great. And then there's also the twinkitchens.com. And then let me see here. So let me pull up some banners. Just a sec. So, what I will do when we're done here, because you have sent everything to me in an email. So what I will do is I will post it to the thread on my blog's Facebook page, which is where we stream on Socially Acceptable. I'll post all that for you, and then I'll add that to the Warrior Moms community. So if you are not a member of the Warrior Moms community, it's just facebook.com/groups/Warrior Moms community. There's a whole litany of references, not only for Jeanna and her business, which I will post, but if you're looking for like foundations that maybe you need help getting a monitor to help your child, or if you're looking for a grant in some way, there's a bunch of different foundations listed on there. And I'm constantly adding more as I hear. So there's a great tool, and Gina's a member. You're a member, right? Yeah, you're a member.
Well, and you just did also too. You just put up a really great a link in an article about Charlie's Foundation, which if anyone's considering trying to incorporate keto for their child, I strongly recommend it. There's a book too I recommended, but I know that Trina's going to share the link. That's a really great kind of good combination of medical world, but layman's way of sharing it about keto and epilepsy. Yeah, you're sharing lots of really great information on there. Yeah.
That reminds me, I put that book in my cart and I forgot to check out because the kid called my name and I walked away. And so I've got to go check out. So, because I want that book, because, my daughter, she's been on keto since February. And so, Jeanna, I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you telling your story and Alex's story. And I'm so happy that she is 4 weeks seizure free, and also that she pulled herself up. And that made me so happy to hear. And I told you this already, but I'm gonna tell you again. It made me so happy to hear I could hear the joy in your voice. And I just love it, because when we get to seizure freedom, that's when milestones can happen. And so that's always our goal, is to have the seizure freedom. And I know that my daughter, and I shared this, my daughter, she's been on keto since February, and we're seeing changes too. So it really, if you can get your child on a good regimen, and find a good doctor, advocate for your child, then you will be in such good shape. You really will. And Wendy is watching the show. Wendy is, she says, we are so new in this, and I feel like we are already drowning. And I was actually telling Jeanna, I was telling you about Wendy before the show. And so Wendy, I'm glad that you tuned in tonight. And there's a whole world of warrior moms that we've all been there. We've all been in your shoes, and we know exactly how you feel. And I wish I could say, hey, it's gonna get better. There's really that I would be lying to you, and I wouldn't be your friend if I was saying that. But what I can tell you is that there's a whole world of warrior moms that will be willing to help you. And so that's the important part.
You're not alone. You're not alone. And once I started to find communities of other warrior moms, it was like this huge relief. I mean, but also sadness, because I hate that we're all in this together, because I don't want us all to be in this. Like you said, I don't want to be in this club. I don't want any of you to be in this club, but we are. And honestly, you won't meet a more amazing group of women.
Yeah. You will find out how strong you are. That's the thing. You will, I can't tell you, because even I surprise myself when I pull it together. You will find out how strong you are when you become a warrior mom. That's the sad fact of it, but it is the truth. Yes. And so, Jeanna, I appreciate you being on the show. I love that you're a member of our community. I love that you are offering these gifts for our viewers and for our other fellow warrior moms. And I appreciate you so much. I really do. And I will be in touch with you, and we will get everything set up for you. And then we'll just go from there. And so next week we have, this is more for autism. We have we have Terry Liddell with the A-Hug Foundation, and she is going to come on and share her warrior mom story and the story that led to the development of A-Hug, which is a brand new foundation for those with autism. And what they try to do now is, autism, most children who autism children tend to wander. And if they wander off, most of the time children with autism are found in water. And so there's a big correlation between autism and drownings. And so this foundation is working to get swimming lessons for children who have autism. So that way, if they do tend to wander off like they do, then they will be able to float and survive. And I love what she's doing because we just had a story about that. We actually, in my old neighborhood, we had a story about that happened in our pool, our community pool. And then we recently had something out here in the neighborhood next to us where a autistic child was found in a pool. So we're bringing people on this show that are making change for the special needs world. And so, and our guest tonight, Jeanna, is one of those. And so I hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday. Great rest of your week. I hope everyone stays safe, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Trina.
Welcome.
Bye.